Hey guys, so today is going to be a bit of a different video. Today's going to be more of a tutorial. If you've watched my channel for a while, you know that I usually put covers or originals up here, but this all came about because one of my students is really keen to get into recording music and they want to know like what equipment do they need acoustic treatment, do they need microphones, cables, like they want to understand how everything works. And while I was explaining to them all the things that they needed, I realized that actually this could be something that a few other people are interested in. So I thought I'd take you through what my opinion of this is. So first of all, you're going to need a computer. Second of all, you're going to need an interface. An interface converts audio information to digital information that you can process in your computer, and then once you bounce that out, then it converts it back to analog information, audio information. So you need one of those. You're going to need probably a microphone. I would definitely recommend the Shure SM57. This is the one that I got first. You can't go wrong. It's a dynamic mic, which means that it doesn't need phantom power, so you can't really mess up that way. You're going to need obviously a mic cable and probably a mic stand to hold it. I would also recommend getting a 1/4" cable, so a guitar lead. This will help if you want to plug in guitars, or if you have like an electronic drum kit and you want to plug that into your interface, that'll help. Obviously you'll need some headphones so you can hear what you're doing. I mean, there are a few optional things that I would say are not really optional. They just improve your workflow so much that I would definitely save up for them if you can. So one of those is going to be speakers, some speaker monitors. This is really good because when you have headphones on all the time, you get what's called ear fatigue. And so your ears just get so tired from listening after not actually very long at all. So yeah, I'd recommend some speakers and a MIDI keyboard. So I won't go into too much depth about each one of these things. If you guys want more info, then let me know in the comments below and I can like dive into each of the different categories if you'd like. But basically MIDI is... Hello everyone, sorry to interrupt, this is Editing Gina here. It was at this point that I gave the most confusing explanation of MIDI that has ever existed in the history of mankind. Basically what I was trying to say is if you connect a little keyboard that has no sounds in it, it can be used to trigger sounds inside your computer. That's what I was trying to say. So don't worry too much about that, but if you want to make cool trap beats or drum and bass or something, a MIDI keyboard's like a good way to go. So I recommended the Shure SM57 as a mic, and I think that's a good recommendation, obviously. If you have enough money and can get two, then you're really going to get a lot more out of it because you can use the two mics if you'd like to mic drum kits. If you'd like to record your acoustic guitar, you can record it in stereo. You can put two mics on the guitar. It's just much more helpful to have two mics if you can afford it and if your interface can take the two mics, obviously. And now when you want to choose an interface, the important thing to consider is which connection your computer will actually take. So obviously if you have a USB-C computer, don't go buy a USB-A interface or a Thunderbolt interface. That's not helpful. You can get adapters and things, but if you can help it, try to avoid those. I've got two actually. So one's my Apollo, which is quite an expensive interface, and I upgraded to that one a while ago because the preamps inside sound really nice. But the other one that I have, the Scarlett 4i4, is perfectly adequate. In fact, this one's quite good because it's got 4 channels. So if you were trying to record drums, like I mentioned earlier, then you could plug 4 different channels in. So you could have maybe like 2 overheads, a kick mic, and then also a snare mic, and that would be plenty, I think. As a starter interface, I think anything Focusrite is a pretty good start. I know that Steinberg make one, I think it's called the UR22. I'll put the correct name on the screen now. I used to have an M Audio interface though, it was fine, no problem at all. It doesn't really matter honestly, just to get started. So now obviously once you've got your computer, you've got your interface, you need something to record into. You need a program to process all this information. And this is what we call a DAW or a DAW in colloquial terms. And I like to use Logic. I've previously used to use Pro Tools for recording. If you're a beginner and have never used one before, I definitely recommend GarageBand. This is the simplest one, and if you've got a Mac, it comes with your Mac, so it's free. Like, why would you not start there? I'm more than happy to do a rundown of how to basically plug everything in if that's something that's interesting to you. But in a nutshell, all you have to plug in is your interface plugs into the computer, and if you have speakers, out of the back of the interface, you'd plug into your speakers. And then into the front of the interface you plug your instruments. So you might have your electric guitar or your acoustic guitar, you'd plug it in there. If you have a microphone, you'd plug that into the front. And usually on the front there are what are called gain controls. Now gain, you can think of it as like the amount of signal you're getting from the instruments. So you want to adjust the gain until it's green. If it's going red, then you need to pull back a little bit, it's peaking. So that's that. If you're in GarageBand, you make what are called channels or tracks, and you record each instrument separately usually. So you might record one layer of guitar, one layer of bass, maybe one layer of vocals. Now something to consider is the room in which you're going to record. So when I first started recording, I used to record inside my wardrobe because it's full of clothes, obviously, and that acts as a really good sound absorber. So that's a good thing for recording vocals. But if you're recording drums, obviously you're probably going to be in a fixed room. If you're recording guitar, I mean, your room's your room. But what you don't want to do is try and record in a room that has a lot of echo in it, like a lot of reverb. I mean, unless that's a very distinct sound that you would like, but if you do that and that's not the sound you're looking for, it's going to sound like you're sitting in the bathroom, and that's not ideal. So in my studio that I've got now, I've got a lot of acoustic treatment around the place. So I've got these black panels, and I built these. They actually stand on the floor, so they're not mounted on the wall, which is pretty handy. And then I built the panels behind my drum kit, the burgundy ones. I built those originally sort of as pelmets for a different room. I just got a piece of MDF wood and then covered it in earth wool and upholstered the material over the top so they absorb sound. And then I made that sort of whitish coloured one in the same way, although with that one I made a frame out of MDF first. My studio backs onto a hallway, which obviously is a nightmare for the reasons I just mentioned. And I needed to build some kind of wall that would stop those acoustic problems. So I built 4 huge panels and then bolted them together on the back and then mounted those to the top of the wall. So effectively I built a wall that's fully absorbent. And I did that with the same principles that I mentioned before. I just had the wooden frame, the backing, fill it with earth wool, and then upholster material on the front. I mean, obviously you can spend as much or as little as you'd like. You could get someone professional to come in and acoustically treat your room, but I'd imagine if you're someone watching this video, you're not at that stage, and that's not something that you potentially have a budget for. So to get started, try record in as dry a room as possible. So if you've got wooden floors, let's say, try and put a rug down to try and dampen some of that sound. One thing to consider when you record is your timing, your tuning, and your tone are things that you can't really fix in the recording. So if your timing's not good and you play a bit late or early, whatever, it's very difficult to fix that in a recording, especially when you're just learning how to do it. Same as if you sing out of tune or if your tone's not pretty. It's very difficult to fix it if you're a beginner. It's very difficult to fix it generally, actually, but even more so if you're just learning how to use something. So what I would recommend is spending a lot of time practicing the take before you actually record it, or just recording a lot of those takes. Don't expect that when you record something the first time it's going to be perfect. When you record, it's like staring directly in the mirror. You hear all your flaws, and that's not the nicest thing for sure, but you definitely learn a lot from it. And then the other thing is to consider the quality of your instruments. So if you have a $5 guitar, then your recording is probably going to sound like it's made with a $5 guitar. I'm not saying that you need to spend a lot of money on instruments at all, but just consider if you're playing your guitar, let's say, and the intonation's out, you're going to hear it in the recording. There's no way that you're going to get over that. And the thing with recordings is it's not like live music. People listen to it over and over and over. So there's definitely that pressure to try and make it as good as you can. Not perfect, but as close to perfect as you can get it. So yeah, spend time practicing and don't stress too much about the gear, because if you have worked really hard on your performance, then the gear doesn't really make that much difference. In the same way that if you haven't practiced, the gear will not make you sound better. In a nutshell, that's all you really need to start making music from home. Each of those sort of categories can be delved into very deeply. I mean, just learning how to use GarageBand itself is a whole rabbit hole that you can really go into. Miking techniques, there's an endless supply of information about that. I mean, amplifiers, the actual microphones you use, it's a never-ending journey that everybody's on, really. So yeah, I mean, that's all you really need to get going with recording. I wish I had known some of this when I started, because when I started, I didn't know anything. I was just watching YouTube videos, and back then there were not that many out there. I had the jankiest speakers. They were like 3 feet tall and they were hooked up to this big amplifier. I mean, the sound quality was just awful, but I thought it was so professional. I had a fold out Bunnings table. I don't know if you guys know what Bunnings is, but I had a Bunnings table with my stuff on. I thought I was the real deal back when I was a teenager. And when I listened to some of the recordings, I mean, they're not bad, but I've definitely learned a lot since then. So yeah, at the end of the day, I don't think the equipment really matters. I think the most important thing is that you start making music, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. I mean, just try something. If you're like, should I put the mic here or should I put it there? Just try both. Do 1 take here, 1 take there, then listen back and see what you like better. There's no right way to do something, it's just the way that sounds the best to you. And the more you do it, the better you'll get and the sharper your ears will become. So yeah, just start making music. It's the best thing ever. If you guys would like me to dive into any of the different components of what I just mentioned a little more, then let me know in the comments below and I'll be happy to make videos on that. I just don't want this one to be too long. Also, if you would like lessons, I've had a few people inquire about lessons, then shoot me an email, put my email down below and we can make that happen. If you have any questions about songwriting or anything like that, I'm always open to hearing what you guys would like to know. I'm working on some new music at the moment, so that's taking most of my time, so hopefully that'll come out soon. But I'm also really keen on making more YouTube videos. If you guys could let me know what kind of videos you've been enjoying down in the comments below, that would be really helpful. And if you haven't subscribed, please do, because that's what allows me to make more videos on here. Yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.